My name is Michaelidou, and I'm Program Advisor at the Council of Data Protection Europe, the Council of Europe. This year is the 10th edition of Data Protection Day, and I'm proud to say that, to point out that this celebration was established by the Council of Europe in 2006. The date was chosen to mark the opening for signature of the Data Protection Convention of the Council of Europe, known as Convention 08, on the 28th January of 1981. Data Protection Day is now celebrated globally and is called Privacy Day outside Europe. Today, data protection authorities and other entities, private entities or civil society are organizing awareness-raising events, activities. This could be a launch of promotional videos, prize awards, open doors days, press conferences, dedicated workshops, conferences, or competitions for children and young people. Some of these initiatives will be presented by our speakers. A compilation of these awareness-raising activities, which is organized on this occasion, is made available every year on the Council of Europe website, and thus enables people to be informed on the events taking place in each country. And this compilation is made available, is also very useful to all stakeholders, and we received recently acknowledgements saying that this compilation is a very useful tool to find information about the various events taking place around the world, so you can find it on the Council of Europe website. 2 years ago, on the occasion of Data Protection Day, we launched in this conference here the handbook on European data protection law, which was produced jointly by the Council of Europe and the FRA, the European Agency for Fundamental Rights. Since then, the handbook has been translated in almost 30 languages, and it was extremely successful. It counts to date 130,000 downloads just in the English version. And you can find copies of the handbook outside here at the FRA stand. I will leave the floor now to our speakers, who will present some great practices and initiatives, and also take stock of the difficulties that may be encountered. The purpose of this panel is also to recall the objective of this celebration, why it is so important, and the progress made since 2006. I'm introducing first Sophie Vannier. Sophie is a legal policy officer at the European and International Department of the French Data Protection Authority. She's actually replacing Nicolas de Bouville, who was unable to be here with us today. I'm also introducing David Hoffman. David is Associate General Counsel and Global Privacy Officer at Intel Corporation. Marius Jam, Data Protection Assistant in the European Association for Defense of Human Rights. And Valérie Verbruggen, who is the Legal Advisor at the Belgian Data Protection Authority. Our moderator for this panel is Christiana Markou, lecturer in law at the European University in Cyprus. So I'll give now the floor to Sophie, who will develop some of the activities which were initiated this year for the Data Protection Day at CNIL.
Well, thank you, Maria. I have to say I'm quite pleased to be here today to celebrate Data Protection Day, in which my Data Protection Authority has been participating since its beginning. Well, indeed, actually, every year we tried to bring new ideas in the process. So I'm just going to summarize briefly the main production. The first year we participated in Data Protection Day, we made a partnership with the first youth newspaper in France, which dedicated its whole edition to data protection. We also developed serious games. We dedicated card games, which were really useful for parents who were stuck in traffic jams and making their children wait on a serious matter. And for instance, we also published index cards, which are actually still going on. It's the real success of these initiatives, because the first index card was published in 2013. It was dedicated mainly to very practical affairs, such as privacy in the work environment, as well as privacy concerning CCTVs. And so in 2013 there were 6 theme cards, and in 2015 there is, I guess, 17 theme cards, so it's quite a success. And in 2015 there has been 30,000 downloads from our website, and it doesn't count every mail we send about these theme cards, and it doesn't count every paper support we send them to companies or schools and universities. To get back to the general landscape, we also published information on our Facebook page. And a few years ago, we started using cartoons to make a legal concept a little bit more accessible for the general public. And we felt like that in 2016, it was time to be a bit groundbreaking and to be a little bit edgy, because after 4 years of legal technicalities, we thought it was time to address the general public with a future regulation. And so in order to do that, we brought in a cartoonist. He's quite famous in our country because he draws for Le Monde, the main newspaper. And we thought it would be a good idea to bring in this cartoonist because he can translate legal concept into sharp illustrations. So I don't know if it's possible to see the illustrations on the screen. So as you can see, it's quite graphic, of course. So for Data Protection Day, we focused on the rights of personal citizens. So first, I don't know, I'm going to go through the 6 main cartoons quite briefly, because as you know, it's in the new regulation. So there is data to take away. It's the way to pronounce the fancy word portability, which is a new right. So basically, it's an ability for everyone to take their data they once landed to some new place. Second, there is a better transparency. Again, the new regulation states that the language data controller provides to data subjects must be clear and understandable language. So it makes sense to have more information of what is done with your data and how to exercise a right. Second, there is a new right as well, it's child protection. Actually, online services must obtain the parents' consent before registering any child under 16, unless member states decide otherwise. Then there is the one-stop shop. It does impact everyone directly, because it's a mechanism which is supposed to make access to the protection authority quite easier, because you directly go to your data protection authority in your country, not somewhere else. Then there are the sanctions. The sanctions, as you know, of course, they have been framed, they have been scaled, they are, in a word, bigger, and they are the biggest when it comes to data protection rights, because data controllers who infringe with citizens' rights face up to 20 million euros, or when it's an undertaking, up to 4% of its annual worldwide turnover. So it's quite a lot. And let's not forget the right to be forgotten, because it's a confirmed right in the new legislation. And it's quite, in our experience in France, it's a right which has been growing up in the public awareness. And so this was the poster we drew for Data Protection Day. And this poster has been downloaded and is ready for access on our website, as well on the Working Party 29 website. And actually it has been meant to be shared. It has been meant to be written in French and in English, as you can see. But the idea behind it is to be common as a good practice to willing European data protection to share and to use on their website.
Thank you, Sophie, for this demonstrating their initiatives and this interesting campaign. I will give the floor now to David, who is going to speak to us about the history of the Data Protection Day celebration in the United States.
Thank you very much. And it's wonderful to follow Sophie, and thank you for allowing me to participate. I think the cartoons are fantastic, and I think I may have discovered how best to communicate the new regulation to our engineering clients. So that's fantastic. We'll be using them. I wanted to provide just a couple of minutes of context for people about how Data Protection Day came to be recognized in the United States and called a Data Privacy Day. It's something that's particularly close to my heart because it happened around my dinner table, actually. Someone here from Brussels who is a colleague, a former colleague and friend for a long time that many of you may know, Karim Lassina, called me one day and said, David, there's a European Commission official who is going to be moving to the US for a year. I'd like you to meet him. He's a fantastic person, has lots of innovative ideas I think you would enjoy. And please, I think you would enjoy his family, and they'd like to meet your family. You please invite him over for dinner. So that person is Leonardo Cervera Navas, who now works for the European Data Protection Supervisor's Office. It took us a while to organize the dinner between our calendar and his family's calendar and a couple of other people that we wanted to get there. But finally, after some doing, we got together for the dinner, and it started off on a fantastic way. My boys, who were very young at the time, this was about 8.5 years ago, brought out a page with flags and wanted to hear from everybody about where they were from and where people had lived. And there were, I think, 8 different countries represented at the table, and asked people what those countries were like. And it started a dinner that was talking a lot about the differences in cultures between the different places where we had lived. And we had just moved back from Germany and the UK, where we had lived before that. Well, at one point, as that conversation turned to actually talking about similar values that we shared that were underneath those cultural differences, Leonardo had an idea. He said, you know, there is an annual recognition that's happened twice in the European Union, put together by the Council of Europe as Data Protection Day. We should do something like that here in the US. We should bring Data Protection Day to the US. So we talked about it a little while, and we said, well, you know, I think people are going to get confused here in the US if we call it Data Protection Day. It's not, data protection has a different not meaning, but a different flavor to it in the US, where people think of that as just security, potentially. So we said, what if we call it Data Privacy Day here, and it will serve 2 potential uses. One would be, or purposes. One would be the same of raising awareness and promoting events to raise awareness. And the second actually would be to promote transatlantic cooperation, like the cooperation that we were having around the dinner table. So by the time we got to dessert, actually, one of the other colleagues at the table said, look, you've just been talking about this idea, but we should really do it. And that was Jolynn Dellinger. And Jolynn actually ended up becoming the project manager for Data Privacy Day. A month after we had dinner was the Information Commissioners Conference in Montreal. Leonardo and I went together to the conference and talked with about 20 of my peers, so chief privacy officers of companies, plus a number of information commissioners and other officials to see if they would support the concept. And what we learned very quickly was that the best way to do this and to have a productive celebration and recognition of Data Privacy Day on January 28th was to ask people to do something, but then to not put any constraints on them on exactly what they would do, but just for them to recognize that. So we put together a central event at Duke University's Law School, where I also serve on the faculty. Giovanni Buttarelli and Peter Hustings came over to the event. We had a number of representatives from the private sector there. And from there, Data Privacy Day was born. Jolene went on to project manage it for a number of years, and now has turned it over to the National Cybersecurity Alliance. And from that first event at Duke and that discussion around my dinner table, now we track thousands of different events every year. I think last year it was over 3,000 different events that were done to celebrate Data Privacy Day. Not just in the US, because we asked my global staff to take it to the governments in other countries and to peers in other countries. There've been events in China, Japan, Israel, Korea, Brazil, Mexico, Australia, even though it's difficult to do it in Australia because of it's the holiday season in Australia, also in New Zealand. And so it really seems to have now taken on a life of its own. And what I'm most pleased about, and what I think is most relevant for many of the topics of conversation that we've been having at this particular conference, is there still has been a theme on transatlantic and international cooperation. And I think this is the time when we most need to foster that kind of a dialogue, where we talk to each other about shared cultural values and how best to promote them instead of just focusing on our differences.
Thank you very much, David. And also to say that we're grateful that you organized the dinner after all. And it's amazing to know that now in all places in the world there are events organized, even for countries who sometimes don't even have data protection laws, or at the meaning that we in Europe. But we'll come back later with some questions for all of the panelists and for David to see what would be also the problems encountered sometimes for organizing events or raising awareness. I will give now the floor to Marius, who's developed some also initiatives taken by the association on this occasion.
Well, good afternoon. Firstly, I would like to thank the organizer for the invitation. So as Maya just stated, I'm here to make a short overview of the conference we organized for the Data Protection Day yesterday at the European Parliament. So I'm from the European Association for the Defense of Human Rights. The French acronym is AEDH. For those who don't know the AEDH, it's an association based in Brussels. It gathers together other associations from European Union countries who are working on fundamental rights in general, so not only on data protection and privacy issues. So as for yesterday's conference, we had two objectives with this conference. Firstly, it was to revisit what have helped data protection to progress during the last decade, and at the same time to think about ways for the civil society to face the many challenges ahead. And well, that was the global idea of the conference, and I think that this year Data Protection Day was a really good opportunity to do so, because we believe that the AEDH, that's data protection, is currently at crossroads in Europe. Well, so to discuss all of the issues going on, we divided our conference in three parts, let's say, and I'm going to try to summarize the main findings. So the first round table, was aiming to make an assessment of what happened in terms of data protection during the last decade at the legal level. And we had two speakers, so Peter Hustings, the former ADPS, and Cécile de Terwang, who is a researcher at the University of Namur. I think what it's important to highlight, I mean, what I have, sorry. So what's important to highlight about this first roundtable is that the two speakers were really optimistic. There were, for example, Peter Hustings has a real confidence in the decision taken by the Court of Justice of the European Union. He thinks the court is really stable and gives really positive judgments in terms of data protection that define important principles that could be useful in the future. So a really positive statement. It's the same for Cécile de Terwang about the European Court of Human Rights. She believes that the court shows a real commitment to protect data protection, even if data protection right in itself is not part of the European Convention for Human Rights. The European Convention of Human Rights is only about the right to privacy. So again, yeah, like both of them were really, they have a real confidence in European standards on European decisions taken by the court in terms of data protection. The second roundtable was we were more aiming to give the floor to the civil society. And we invited 3 activists and invited them to share their experience and their thoughts about the way to make activism in Europe in terms of about the way to make activism in Europe in terms of data protection. So we had Jeremy Zimmerman, co-founder of La Quadrature du Net. We also had Katarzyna Zimilovic. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it very well. With a co-founder of the Panoptykon Foundation in Poland. And we also had Max Schrems. I think I don't need to present him. Taken together, they really emphasized, I think, 3 main findings about civil society in the context of the fight for data protection. First of all, maybe it's important to not focus only on the political and legal levels, but also to connect technologies and politics. I mean, to learn people the importance to use Libre software, decentralized services, end-to-end encryption in order to take back the control of the machine, in order to protect our data and our communication by ourselves, and not only by counting on court of justice. The second finding of this roundtable was maybe the importance for the civil society to create a good narrative to get people interested. Katarzyna Zimilovic made an interesting comparison between the fight against ACTA and the fight against mass surveillance that we are currently doing. She said that if the fight against ACTA has been a success, if people went into the street, it's because of misrepresentations, actually. It's because people were fighting for symbols of internet. They were fighting to have access, to not lose their access to pictures of cats, to not lose their access to free download. That's the example she took. And that's difficult today to use this kind of symbols, of strong symbols, to mobilize, I don't know if you say it in English, to mobilize people for the fight against mass surveillance. And maybe the third finding of this second roundtable was the importance in Europe to develop collective enforcement for data protection related infringements. Max Schrems shared his thoughts on this subject, and he thought that it's very difficult today for a single citizen to protect his rights and to go to the courts, and that there is a real need to collective enforcement. And quickly, the third roundtable was to discuss the challenges we currently face, so mainly big data on mass surveillance, and to remind us the main issue we have with this subject. So we had Markou, who is a journalist, a French journalist working at a website called Next Impact in France. And he worked a lot on the intelligence law that have been voted in France during the last year, let's say on the basis of immersion. And I think we can highlight we can highlight some trends that are going along with these laws. First of all, there is a circumvention of the judiciary. There is less and less judiciary control. Secondly, the laws that have been voted in France allow the surveillance of communication of all people. And these laws are doing surveillance for very, very broad purposes. So that's, I think, main important findings about the law that have been voted in France during the last year. The second speaker on this roundtable was Joe McNamee, the executive director of AEDH. Well, he reminded us that the problem with big data is not only about mass surveillance from state, but it's only about private companies that are now able to know us better than ourselves. And it brings a lot of societal changes, like they are able to oblige us to fit the norm, they are able to influence our decisions. So I'm not saying they are doing it, but they could do it if they wanted to. And that could bring some issues that let's say, for the societies, for the democracy in Europe. So I think it's almost time. So we have been, with this event we organized yesterday, we have been able to, I think, to gather interested people to discuss important issues on data protection. And that's an important thing for data. I mean, that was the I think we reached our goal for this Data Protection Day. But one of the main problems we had is how to attract general public, because people that were there were people that are already specialists, that are already interested in these issues, like I suppose all of you. And one of the main problems for civil society today is to attract the general public and to get them interested on this subject. Thank you.
Thank you, Marius. I'm also taking this opportunity to highlight the good work done by the association in not only for Data Protection Day, but in general with on raising awareness. They usually prepare a lot of materials for not only for data protection, but for other fundamental rights, and they're doing pretty good work in this field. I give now the floor to Valérie, who is going to speak to us about the initiatives taken by the Belgian Data Protection Authority, not only for this year, for the last couple of years, 5 years. Valérie.
Thank you, Maria, for inviting the Belgian DPA to this panel. Together with my with the communication officer, I prepared some slides for you. I will give you a short overview of what we have done on the occasion of Data Protection Day over the last years. So in 2012, we launched a new website, a website dedicated to young people, children, teenagers, but also their parents and their teacher. So the aim of the website is to raise awareness among children and young people, but also to provide some education material to their parents and their teacher. And this website has been actually the starting point of other initiatives towards these 4 categories of data subjects. So besides the launching of the website, we also distributed some postcards referring to this website in various public places in Belgium, but also we sent it to schools throughout the country. So this is to show you how the website looks like. So we have 4 sections, as I just mentioned: children, teenager, parents, and education professional, teachers. And for each category, we have developed some topics like electronic identity card, right to personal portrayal, social networks. Now in 2013, we organized a seminar on electronic archiving. So we brought together data protection specialists, but also archivists. And the idea was to find a practical and legal solution to this issue of electronic archives. And on the same year, same Data Protection Day, we launched again a new website full of case law articles for data protection professionals. And this website was actually the result of a partnership with the Free University of Brussels, in particular with Professor Gutviert and De Hert, you might recognize on the picture here. Then in 2015, we launched a new web page on the occasion of Data Protection Day, a web page on the issue of privacy at the workplace. And this was the result of a huge work of the Belgian DPA on this issue, with a specific recommendation on how to reconcile data protection and privacy of employees and employers' prerogatives. This is the page we still have on our website, and you might be interested to consult. Then, last but not least, our event of this year is taking place actually tomorrow. We are organizing a youth parliament in the premises of the Chamber of Representatives. About 140 pupils from 17, 18 years old, from different schools of the country with different background will debate during the session on different cases of right to personal portrayal. What about filming a lesson in a classroom? What about cameras in schools? What about social networks, reality shows, privacy-intrusive television programs? So they will have a debate on these issues, and after a plenary session, they will hand over a set of recommendations to our Data Protection Secretary of State. Next week, you will be able to find the results of this session on our website, including photographs and videos, but photographs only of pupils who will have agreed to be photographed tomorrow and who will have agreed their picture to be taken online. So it means that before the session will start, they will have to choose either to wear a green button like this one, which means I agree to be photographed and I agree the picture to be posted online, or an orange button, which means I agree to be photographed but without any further publication, or a red one, which means I don't want to be photographed at all. And so this will be as well a challenge for the photograph of the House of Representatives, which is of course used to take picture of deputies and ministers. So that's the project of this year. Then, okay. Actually, this event in the Parliament is the follow-up of an educational toolbox for teachers on the right to personal portrayal. A lesson is proposed to teachers with, at the end, an online test you might want to try at home if you're interested. So the web page is here on the screen. Then if I try to draw some conclusion of this short overview, I would say the Belgian DPA, no matter how dynamic it is, remains a small DPA. So the events and the projects that it develops or organizes on the occasion of Data Protection Day are generally not initially specifically meant for Data Protection Day. However, launching a new website, or launching a new web page on that specific day is of course a deliberate choice. Because we know that on that day, the event and the project will be reflected in the press. So the aim of such projects, so those events, is of course to raise awareness, but it's also a very good opportunity to highlight an aspect of the work and duty of the DPA. So we consciously choose a target group, a category of data subject, rather than a general awareness raising project. So we believe that the impact will be greater this way. Of course, the impact is in our case very difficult to measure, but our DPA considers the results are sufficiently positive to organize more events in the coming years. So with these words, I close my presentation, and I thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Valérie. Yes, I was going to say about the pins. I think it was just, a few years ago we had the same here in this conference. It's pity that we don't have them anymore, but obviously we were asked before maybe for the filming and pictures. So supposedly have our an ambiguous consent for taking us on videos and pictures.
We have invisible pins.
With you, if this works. The campaign about children is very, very important, and just wanted to highlight that this also is a priority for many data protection authorities now. They're all raising this kind of campaigns for children, because children are more and more users of internet at very, very young age, and this is we realize the necessity to have this education at a very young age of children. Maybe some other, you can find some other, this kind of campaigns on the events organized by other data protection authorities. Now I'll give the floor to Christiana, who is going to prepare some questions for our panelists.
So good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for being here with us and joining us in the celebration of the Data Protection Day. I've heard Maria has given you more than enough information about the history of the day, its purpose, which is awareness, of course, and why the 20th of January has been chosen. And I'm very happy that David has answered a question that I had, which had to do with why there was this difference in the name of the day. whereas in Europe it is Data Protection Day. In the US it is Data Privacy Day, and indeed I was wondering about that, and I'm very happy that I have received a first-hand answer. So I have to proceed then and pose a very simple question, even simplistic, I would say, but which nevertheless goes at the heart of the whole idea surrounding this day. And the question is this for all of our panelists: do we still need a Data Protection Day or a Data Privacy Day? It's been 10 years. Is the purpose behind this day still relevant, or as relevant as it was 10 years ago when this whole idea has been incepted? And if you allow me, before hearing the ideas of our panelists, I would like to share my opinion regarding the necessity or the need for this day as far as Cyprus is concerned. And we really need the Data Protection Day in Cyprus. We need it not any less than we needed it 10 years ago, because people do need information, do need to learn about personal data, what it is first of all, and how it is protected, what are their rights exactly. And this is the reason why the Cyprus Data Protection Commissioner has also celebrated this day with enthusiasm in Cyprus. We have organized some events, and the first one was last Monday about a heated topic, the protection of privacy on social media. And what the commissioner wanted to let people know is that we have privacy rights even when we are using Facebook, even when we are disclosing information voluntarily. And amongst other events, we also had a poster for the day, but I have to say, Sophie, that I was impressed by the poster, and I will definitely pass your idea as a best practice. What a perfect way to communicate information about personal data in such a pleasant and simple way for everybody to understand. So, what do you think? Do we still need the Data Protection Day or the Data Privacy Day? Is the purpose behind the day still important as much as it was before? Valérie? Sorry, Sophie?
That's all right. Well, thank you for this interesting question. I should say it's more important than ever, because it's been 10 years, of course, but nowadays, as you can all agree about that, the stakes are higher. And I would talk just for my DPA, actually, because Data Protection Day is a wonderful opportunity for us to communicate to several publics, youth, patients, the work environment, stakeholders, and actually Data Protection Day is an opportunity for us to communicate on all kinds of solicitations we receive all year long, and then we choose the hottest topics or the questions that are so numerous that we have to tackle these questions not individually but in general. So, for instance, we try to communicate as well on people who lodge complaints in our Data Protection Authority, because sometimes they don't understand why their complaints can be processed. It's just because they don't follow the right path, and Data Protection Day, for instance, is a way to answer, to spread information all year long. Yeah.
Thank you, Sophie. David, what do you think?
I completely agree with Sophie. I think it's more necessary than it ever has been, actually. One of the things that I didn't share earlier about the history of Data Privacy Days, when we went to the US government at first to ask different constituencies in the US government to do something to recognize Data Privacy Day, which many of these constituencies do now, the first reaction is, we can't do that. It's a recognition of Convention 108 on January 28th, and the US government is not a party and has not adopted Convention 108. And what we explained over a period of time is to say, but the purpose about this is to raise, there are two purposes, to raise awareness and to promote dialogue and cooperation. And I said, maybe if we're effective in doing this, and maybe if you recognize that, maybe we'll adopt Convention 108 eventually. We can still hold out hope, right? So, you know, I was struck again 2 days ago in the wonderful debate that Max Schrems had with Peter Swire, where Max told a story where he said that on his recent trip to Washington, D.C., if I'm remembering this correctly, that he built a snowman of Edward Snowden on the White House lawn. And I thought, to me, that's Max acting as an artist and expressing his opinion in a wonderfully interesting way to provoke awareness. And I think a Data Privacy Day, particularly at an event where the IAPP is brought all of the artwork from the covers of George Orwell's 1984 and other investments that the IAPP has made in art that talks about privacy and data protection, we can recognize those are wonderful ways to raise awareness and to start dialogue. The question is then, how do we continue the dialogue and promote it? And that's what I worry about it breaking down. What I love about Max creating the snowman is that in many countries that don't share the same values as Europe and the US would be, he would be arrested for that and would probably still be in prison. And many of those countries might be countries still that the European Union personal data can be exported to without any issue. But this is why we need to recognize that we have many shared values. We are close friends between Europe and the US. But because of that, you expect more from your friends. And when you have differences with your friends, you need to sit down and really embrace those shared values and talk through those differences in a way to get to a productive result. I can't, from where we are right now, I think that's more important than ever, and therefore Data Privacy Day is a great day to recognize it.
I guess privacy cannot become an outdated concept. There are privacy issues, new privacy issues every day, every year, and this conference, I think, proves this, because every year we see different issues, new issues, all relating to privacy are being discussed. I would like to ask another question to the other two speakers. We recognize the importance of this day, and as I understood, the particular day is being celebrated and honored. Have you encountered any difficulties in celebrating, in organizing celebrations of this day, Valérie?
Thank you. Actually, I will speak, of course, of the initiative of the Belgian DPA. We do not encounter any particular difficulty in organizing the Data Protection Day. As I said in my conclusion, we choose the topic based on what we have done within the context of the activities of the DPA. And as you have seen in the slides, I didn't mention anything for 2014, for example. This does not mean we haven't done anything, but we haven't done ourselves anything, but we were participating in a conference organizing with a partner, a university research center, for example. So, I mean, there are other ways to be part of that day with not that much expenses, for example, if that's a problem on a particular year. But in general, I wouldn't say we encounter difficulties to organize it.
Thank you. I guess in the US it has been more difficult because of the participation in the Convention 108?
I'm not sure I would say more difficult. I think that was a barrier at first, but a number of government organizations are now recognizing Data Privacy Day, holding events, participating in events. And I would say if we look at the number of events that are happening in the United States, a number of the people who are here have participated in them. I see Brendan Lynch from Microsoft, and Microsoft's been a tremendous leader in issuing new research that comes out each year on Data Privacy Day. I think if there's a challenge at this point, it's how do we sustain the dialogue beyond just January 28th and use it to actually have it make an impact to provide more privacy for individuals in their lives.
Thank you, David. And just because I agree, we have to go a bit further than the 20th of January. Our final question to Marius. Marius, I think that the event that your association has organized yesterday, it was yesterday, I think, right? It was really interesting and a very good way to celebrate the Data Protection Day. I wanted to ask you something a bit different. I've seen that your association, the Association for the Defense of Human Rights, has asked the Libe Committee of the European Parliament to reject the text of the Passenger Name Record Directive. As you know, and as we all know, this has not been the case, and the text has been adopted with some changes. So, what do you think about this? Are you disappointed?
Well, we are of course quite disappointed that the text has been adopted by the committee, but it's not surprising. The directive has been adopted in basis of the emotion again just after the attacks in Paris. Well, we have been said by a member of the European Parliament that there is also a lot of pressure from the member states on the subject. So we are not surprised. No, I think it's quite a lot of time to vote this text, because I'm pretty sure it's going to be invalidated by the European courts in some years, as the data retention directive and the safe harbor decision have been invalidated the last few years. That's.
Thank you, Marius. I think now it's time to see if we have any questions from the audience. Our speakers will be happy to answer your questions. Anybody? Comments, remarks, if not questions? Experience from other Data Protection Day celebrations in other countries, maybe, to share with us? Perfect. We have, okay.
Hi, Bradley from the Gibraltar DPA. First of all, I would like to say that obviously I share your thoughts in that the day is very, very important. We think we engage in a series of activities throughout the year to raise awareness. And the more engagement we have with the public, schools, other organizations, private, we actually find out that children and adults sometimes have very, very little knowledge about the risks from digital technology. So it's certainly very, very important. And I think it's going to be a long journey. But in respect to Data Protection Day, I think Data Protection Day is the tip of the iceberg. We all have to work together throughout the year. But the day actually will remain very, very important, even though the work continues and becomes better, because it is a day where we all come together and we essentially coordinate and align a message on the same day, which makes it much, much stronger, more effective. One thing that I would say is that in line with a lot of work that's been done behind the scenes by data protection authorities, is that organizations, be it public organizations or private sector, continue sharing ideas on what to do and what's been done because sometimes there's no need to actually reinvent the wheel. If CNIL have come up with a great poster, then why not share it and do something similar? So that will be a comment from us.
Thank you very much for sharing this with us. We fully agree with you. As you can understand, the 28th of January is just an opportunity to make more and to remind people and everybody that they have to work on privacy and data protection during the whole of the year. You are absolutely right. I think we have, in the back.
This is a question for David Hoffman. How did Max Schrems get on the White House lawn?
I don't know. I don't have access to that technology to know where he was and what he was doing. But I'm assuming that there's a park that's on the north side that people can have ready access to that's within this. If I had to guess, that's where I would guess. He probably was not necessarily on the White House lawn, but was there.
Yeah. Hello, my name is Paul de Hurt. I'm one of the organizers of the conference. I just wanted to say that we as a conference had strong doubts about organizing this conference on Privacy Day, because we don't, finally, it's a day for the public at large and not for the specialists coming together. So it is still an open question whether we should repeat this experience, because what do we like most, having everybody, all the professionals in one venue, or having all the professionals outside in their own country celebrating privacy with the audience? So that is an open question for us, and it's one that hasn't been solved yet. So perhaps you have an opinion on this.
Paul, to be honest, I was wondering when I saw the dates, and these years were a bit later in January. I thought you organized it on purpose to coincide with the 28th of January. But in any event, you may be right that maybe it's better for everybody to be outside. But for this 1 year, it gave the opportunity for this panel organized by the Council of Europe, exactly because I think it coincided with the day. So I think there has been no harm. But you might think of it for next year.
Can I just add, Paul, my thoughts? I think if one of the purposes of Data Protection Day is to promote dialogue, one of the things I've been so incredibly impressed with this conference is the diversity of opinion and everyone coming together to honestly have discussion about the issues. I think it's a tremendous thing to be able to do on Data Privacy Day.
Thank you. We were asked by the organizers to finish this panel a little bit earlier. Just before closing the session, I just want to add that we understand from the reactions of our panelists that, and from the audience that Data Protection Day should continue to be celebrated. What probably should be done is maybe inform more those who are supposed to celebrate the day, because I was discussing with Valérie before that stakeholders like schools or universities or other, I'm just not mentioning schools, but they have the usually they wait from data protection authorities to get the initiative and come to them, and then they're very volunteer to participate, but maybe other stakeholders should have this initiative. So the idea now is maybe to raise awareness among those who are supposed to take the initiative and celebrate this date. And of course, it's not just one day, it's a whole, it's an entire work here the whole year. And but the idea is also to have this special day dedicated and have different kinds of events and which are organized. Thank you for being here. There is now another event organized, cocktail next door, which is co-organized by DPS and the Council of Europe, and which I invite you also to participate. Thank you.